Kia ora team, I'm Coach Ray. I am a running coach who specialises in coaching beginner and recreational athletes to achieve their sporting as well as their health and fitness goals. In today's video, I'm going to take you through the course guide for the Run the Forest 21K event in Rotorua this weekend. This video is for anyone that is participating in the event. I'm going to be covering off some key things, course insights, some pacing advice to help you achieve your goals, and some performance tips. So, course overview, you're starting at Pohoto Geyser, and then you've got a steady climb as you make your way through the forest, climbing all the way up the top of the hill, where you'll find, based on this, the first aid station. There's some other information that indicates one of these party zones does have an aid station there, but I'll touch on that a little bit later. From the top, you're going to descend down the hill a little bit before climbing back up again and then dropping down to the next aid station. And then you're making your way out of the forest and then through the edge of town, finishing at Government Gardens. General strategy for the course is going to be a nice consistent effort. Now, because it's a trail environment, your running pace from your GPS watch isn't going to be the best way to measure your effort. Using power or heart rate are going to be two key metrics, or your own internal RPE. So start off nice and conservatively. You've got that solid climb for nearly 10 Ks. So just make that nice and steady, nice and consistent as you make your way up the hill. Build your effort over the event. When you get to the top of the hill, you've got that downhill and then another steep climb. Yeah, don't overcook things too early. Save yourself for the finish. So my key point strategy, 3 key locations. What's listed as the first aid station at 9.2 kilometers, the top of the climb. Keep effort nice and consistent and steady. Don't overdo things in that portion. From there to the bottom of the climb, to the second aid station at 12.9 kilometers, it is mainly downhill with that pinchy climb that I mentioned before. Lift the pace a little bit on the downhill, but not the effort. Stay focused. I don't want you to trip over and fall. Get safely down that hill as quickly as practical. And then the final portion, exiting the forest from the third aid station at 16.6 kilometers through to the finish. Now there's some undulations through this final section, but once you're out of the forest properly, it's a slight downhill with no real undulations at all. If you're finding yourself relatively fresh in the final few kilometers, lift that pace, finish nice and strong. Some mental tips for race day. I'd recommend having a bit of a race plan, mentally preparing yourself the night before, maybe even 2 nights before. I'd encourage you to download my running self-psych form, work through it. There's a whole lot of questions in there that'll help you develop your race plan so that you can execute your race plan and have a successful event. It's going to increase your likelihood of achieving your goals. There's a link to it in the description. You can just download that for free, no charge whatsoever. Whilst you're out on the course during the day, I recommend having some mantras. It's just a little saying that you can say to yourself to remind yourself what your goals are and to help push yourself through. My go-to one is when the going gets tough, the tough get going. It's a classic, but it sets my mindset, especially when things are getting a little bit more challenging. Also, visualize yourself achieving that success and working through key position or key portions of the event. And as we've sort of touched on, break that race up into the chunks. That first big long climb, it's a long chunk, so you might want to break that up into 2 or 3 smaller bits to the various party zones where you've got the music pumping. So yeah, focus on each chunk as you work through the event to achieve your overall goals. The weather on the day, now it's going to be partially cloudy with isolated showers. That's the forecast at this stage. The southerlies are going to be increasing. It's going to start off nice and cool, about 7 degrees for you North Islanders. I know that is on the chilly side of things, but it's going to warm up to 13 degrees. So it's going to be relatively mild. Whilst you're in the forest, it's going to be relatively sheltered, but with the early start, you should be out of the forest and even over the finish line before those winds pick up too much. I say this, make sure you're ready for any weather conditions. We're still 5 days out. That weather forecast can change. Things can blow in a little bit earlier and have an impact. At the aid stations, now there's two options. There's pure and then there's water. Now the aid stations on the map, the first one listed is at the top of the hill, 9.16 I think it is, but close enough to 9.2 kilometers to the top of the hill. The second one on the map is at 12.9 at the bottom of the hill, and then the third one on the map is at 16.6 coming out of the forest. But this one here is listed, written in the race information, aid station 1 at 6 kilometers. So I don't know if the written information is correct or the map. But either way, you're going to get 3 or 4 aid stations spread throughout the course. So take advantage of them. I recommend going for the electrolyte, especially if you're familiar with it. Get a little bit of sugar, not pure sugar, but you're getting that carbohydrate into the system that's going to get broken down and become your blood glucose, which will fuel you for the next portion of the race. So keep topping that up. Each aid station you go through is my advice. If it's hot, have a little bit more and drink some water as well. So on race morning, you need to make sure you've got your running shoes, your cap, your sunglasses if need be, your race number, that's going to be key, and maybe a jacket or a warmer layer as well. You'll need to make sure you get down to either the start line or the finish line nice and early. If you're going to the finish line, make sure you've got a shuttle or a lift to the start line because there is a little bit of space between them. There's a bag drop at the start line, so they give you the little drawstring bag, nice pink color, and you've also got a bag label. So make sure you put your bag label on it, chuck all your gear in it that you want to be available at the finish line. 10 minutes before your start, go drop that in and then get onto the start line. Now your warm-up is going to be goal dependent. If you're wanting to have a really fast event and set some records, then you're going to need a very thorough warm-up so you're well warmed up, ready to attack that first hill. If your goals are more recreationally based, then a basic warm-up, maybe 10 minutes just jogging around and then using those first few kilometers as you start the incline to build and get thoroughly warmed up. Be aware that before every race, the queues for the toilet and the portaloos are always going to be there. My advice, go early, get through that queue, and then you can do the rest of your race prep prior to the start line. The first wave starts at 8 o'clock, and then there's waves starting at 5, 10, 15, etc. every 5 minutes after that. So make sure you're in the appropriate wave for your goals and your ability. Now, final few kilometers, finishing strong, you're going to want to dig deep the last 2 to 3 kilometers. So when you start coming past the lake edge, you can see the lake, start picking that pace up. And then with 1K to go, give it everything you've got as you push through into the government gardens. Use the aid stations as a reference point. The 2 key ones I'd recommend is the 9Ks at the top of the hill, and then just prior to 17 kilometers when you're exiting the forest. Those of you that want to smash your next half marathon, I've got a few options here for you. I've got my Project 2 hour, my Project 1 hour 50, my Project 1 hour 40, and my Project 1 hour 30. Some great training plans to help you achieve those times in a road half marathon, not a trail, because the pace is going to be a bit slower on the trail, especially if there's hills involved. They're 10 and 20 week training plans to optimize your performance. So depending on where your ability is, you may need to use the 20 week plan so you've got that greater build up, that greater time to make an improvement. There are some criteria for you to join those training plans in terms of what you've already achieved. So have a look at those before committing to one of them. Strength training plans, if you're after something to complement your running, I've got my gym-based Run Strong, Build Strength for faster, more efficient running is a fantastic option. There's a 12-week and there's a 24-week with 2 and 3 week gym sessions, or 2 or 3 gym sessions per week, depending on what your goals are and what your commitment at the gym is. Now, if you're wanting to join the Qwik Kiwi squad for the Auckland Half Marathon, the 12-week training plan starts next Monday, the 11th of August. So finish the Run the Forest, have Sunday off. I'd recommend going for a little wee recovery jog or bike ride, and then we can get into training proper for the Auckland Half Marathon on Monday. Don't worry, Monday is a rest day, so you won't be put on the spot too much. If you want something a little bit more personalized or targeted to your ability, your goals, your lifestyle, send me a DM. I'm easy to find on both Facebook and Instagram. And Instagram is at coach_ray_NZ, or just send me an email, coachray@coachray.nz. I'm happy to discuss what options I've got to help build your fitness in time for whatever event it is you are training for.